Hey everyone, welcome to the Movie Goers podcast. My name is Jordan. You can find me on all socials at Jordy B Writing.
And I'm Darius. That's D's all up in the area on all socials.
And today we're going to be reviewing I Am Legend. This movie came out in 2007, starring Will Smith and a dog. That's literally the cast, pretty much. uh, the plot, years after a plague wipes out most of humanity and mutates the rest, U.S. Army virologist Robert Neville is the last human in New York City. He tirelessly searches for a cure while defending himself against nocturnal infected creatures, desperately clinging to hope for survival and connection. So I'm gonna
All right.
toss to you for Act One.
Act one, we're going to call Isolation and Routine. Dr. Robert Neville navigates a desolate, overgrown New York City, the sole human survivor after a devastating virus. He adheres to a strict daytime routine of scavenging for supplies, broadcasting hopeful messages, and conducting scientific research in his fortified home, all while evading the nocturnal, predatory, dark seekers, zombies. The same, if you've seen a zombie movie, you
Yeah,
know what they are. So,
yeah. If you played Black Ops 2, you know, you know what
uh,
this is.
pretty much everyone knows what a zombie is. They just name different things in the movies. My first observation is it's funny. I was listening to a podcast about things that disaster movies get wrong, and one of
Yeah,
the one of the things is just like zombie outbreaks. Like they always have to skip to the end because there's always a question of like, wait, how do we lose? It's like a outbreak in like the real world wouldn't actually work because we humans have the power of language and communication, and zombies are really stupid. And they're actually like
yeah,
their power over us is like not feeling pain and like relentless aggression, and like the biting
yeah,
is 100% death toll. But we would just outsmart them immediately. Like it's like the outbreak. Let's say the outbreak was Friday, but like Sunday
yeah.
morning, we would coordinate and come up with a plan and be like, we do some shit like, okay, let's every city bait them into a football field and just nuke the football field. We would just
Yeah.
coordinate things like that. Like we're so far ahead of other animals in the food chain that when we hunt, we have to like nerf ourselves. Like there's so many
True.
rules when hunting because we have guns and we have airplanes and we have
Yeah.
GPS and radar. And if we just wanted to wipe out bears tomorrow, we just would do it. Like like it just wouldn't.
Yeah.
So it was just funny to watch the movie because it's funny. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. We always have to skip to the end in zombie outbreaks because
Yeah.
there's no way we would actually lose because the survivors
True.
would coordinate and outsmart them. So that's my first
Yeah.
observation.
My first observation, well, I got a couple, I guess, but my first observation, one that Mustang GT, that was my dream car as a teenager. That '05 Shelby, that shit was clean as fuck, except I wanted it with the black racing stripes. Haven't gotten it yet, but it's still on my bucket list. Lord willing. Please let this podcast blow up.
Yeah, a lot of funny things to do.
I'm tired of working, man.
I don't know, man. Like that's a pretty like that's a humble goal though. Now it's like what it's a nice car, but like
Yeah.
it's one of just my point is like one of my favorite things to do is to go back to listen to like rappers' first albums and see the things they
Yeah.
brag about. They'll brag about shit like buying women Grey Goose, which is like,
Yeah.
I mean that's not really
And then
flexing anymore.
their fourth album, they're like, I own a liquor, y'all.
Yeah. Like T.I. has a song in his first album where he says the club is closing, so he gives the DJ a dub to keep the club open. I'm like, $20? Really? Anyway, so I just watching
From
that
the
car
Rubber
and I was
Band
like,
Man.
this was a gold car 20 years ago, and
It
now
really was.
it's just
Like
funny.
I remember,
But
like moved from Raleigh to Cary. The neighborhood we live in is across from street from a CarMax, and so we went there one time, whatever. And I was like 13, and I saw that Mustang for the first time. And I was like, Dad, that'd be a great gift for your oldest son's 16th birthday.
no, my first
Um,
car was a Pontiac Grand Am, and the engine was like smoking half the time. So no Ford Mustangs for me.
yeah, I had a Jeep Patriot. It was like kind of a clunker. Uh,
16-year-olds are supposed to get
um,
clunkers, man. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
My point is though,
yeah.
if that movie were released today, he'd be in a Lamborghini or a Rolls Royce or something
Right. Yeah, he'd be in the fucking
appropriate for the
Lamborghini
times.
Murcielago
Yeah.
or some shit like that. Yeah.
What you got, man?
Um, I like how the movie opened, where it's got the like kind of the news report and this lady talking to, I think it's Emma Thompson, I want to say is her name. And she's like, yeah, we cured cancer. and then they cut to the world ended.
That actually leads to my first question, but I'll let you finish your thought first.
Okay, so it reminded me of the Chris. First thing I thought of was the Chris Rock joke where he
Yeah.
said they're never going to try to they would never cure cancer. They haven't cured anything since polio, and he's
Mhm.
like, there's no money in the cure. The money's in the treatment.
That's not really true. But first of all, cancer is just a blanket term we use for like 1,000 diseases. So there's never going to be
Right?
one
Yeah,
cure for it. They all do different.
correct.
There's different
And
things
there's
to it.
different kinds of cancer.
And
Correct.
there is a lots of money in cures because I mean, pharmaceutical companies, one, they do cure things. HIV is basically cured.
Yeah,
But I guess when Chris Rock told that joke, it was in '90s, so it was not cured. But
yeah.
that's a whole different tangent. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh no, you could. I also like that. So when they have the opening scene where he's kind of driving through the streets of New York,
Yeah.
and like you see like the shoulder height grass, and there's deer everywhere. There's a fucking lion and shit, and it just reminded me of that scene from Avengers Endgame where they do the flash forward. It's 5 years later,
Yeah.
and Captain America's like, "Yo, I saw some whales in the Hudson
Yeah.
River the other day because like the water's cleaner now because there's no boats and shit." And like reminded me of like the pandemic, like when there were stars in cities that they could see now that they hadn't seen in years because of the smog and the traffic was gone and all that sort of stuff. So it was like super apocalyptic yet futuristic and realistic at the same time, which I thought was kind of cool.
All it took was like one of the worst years of my life.
Right.
2020 was fucking
Yeah,
horrible.
that was the worst year ever, dog.
God, I spent like 60 days in the house from March until at least May, and it's fucking horrible.
Damn.
Anyways, shout out to pharmaceutical companies. Got our jabs, got outside.
Yes.
Anyways.
Shout out. We are a pro-vax pod.
Get my flu
We
shot
do
every
all kinds of
year.
shots here. The tequila
Measles,
ain't the only
flu,
shots we
all
do.
that shit. How many more you got in the back? I hate being
Right.
sick.
Yeah, me too. I really hate it. It's the worst. I had flu type A over Christmas break. I'd never been that sick in my life. It was the worst.
We had to scrap a pod because you sound like Wheezy Jefferson throughout the whole thing.
Oh yeah, that's right.
It's like I can't
I
hear you,
forgot
but I'm
about
gonna stop telling you that because what's the point?
that. I
It
was
was
like,
rough.
jail is bad.
Just dated the fuck out of myself with the Wheezy Jefferson reference.
Yeah.
Show was off the air before I was born.
Right. Yeah. But all two of our listeners they can
Yeah,
Google it and
yeah,
they'll
yeah.
figure out who it is.
They probably just as good as us. So
All right, so what you got for Act One?
So my question actually was, the miracle cure at the beginning. Does that stuff like
Mhm.
that make you nervous about current miracle, like basically like Ozempic right now, and like
Right,
it's basically a miracle. Like essentially, if it is works as described, we basically cured the problem of weight maintenance, basically. Now it
right,
doesn't cure musculature, but which is
right.
probably the biggest problem at a macro level of our population is just like people struggling to maintain weight. And like we've tried yelling at people to
Correct.
diet and exercise for 100 years. It doesn't work at a population scale.
Yeah, it
It does
doesn't
not
work.
work. So you can keep yelling at that to the blue in the face. So if this thing works, I mean the healthcare gains are most important, but like the economic gains and all of that
Yeah.
would be
Yeah, the
exponential.
gyms might be out of here.
Uh, gyms, fast food, uh,
Yeah.
sales of snacks would go down. I mean, you can't even scale up
Yeah, the trickle
the
down effect
economic
would be,
effects because
yeah.
worker productivity go up because you'd have a less sick workforce. People would call in sick
True.
less
Yeah,
because they
shit.
would be less sickly. It would just be, I mean, exponential. So, but
Yeah.
to narrow in my question, like, does this stuff
Mhm.
like this movies like this, which are obvious acts of fiction, but we've had
Right.
miracle cures in the past. Like OxyContin was once a miracle cure. Take a pill, you never feel pain, and look how that
Mm.
went. So, does that make you apprehensive about so and so current miracle cures that come out?
Um, I don't know. It's a good question. I actually never really thought about it.
Because I remember when
I mean,
take this pill, your back pain will go away, and then 3 days later, you're on the street begging for money for heroin. I
yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, I was gonna say that's actually where I was
that's
gonna go. I was
that's
gonna
in
say,
our
yeah,
lifetime.
that
Uh,
right. That's the thing. It's like, and actually, I have that. I'm gonna bring that point up in Act Two. Sometimes in the medical field, the solution causes more problems.
Yeah.
Like, think about every commercial for every pharmaceutical drug we've ever seen ever. Oh, take this for your insert disease. Side effects are nausea, wheezing, upset stomach, diarrhea, da 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 da, whatever, asthma attack, shortness of breath, loss of limb. I'm joking, obviously, but you know what I
Like,
mean?
damn,
So
all this
it's
because my elbow hurt. Oh, I'm
right,
good.
right.
You got some
It's
stretches I could do?
yeah, man. Like it's like when you Google, you're like you have a certain ache or pain in your body and you Google it, and then it's like symptoms are like it could be possibly be cancer. And you're like, oh God, am I gonna die? You know.
No.
So I don't know. I mean, I think I worry about that in the sense of what would the side effects be, or what would they even be able to forecast what the side effects would be when they come up with this cure for this whatever the ailment or illness is.
Well,
Um,
go ahead.
so that's my main area of concern, to be honest, because as someone who's worked, in various healthcare industries and fields, um, like that's really the main thing is, what are the side effects? And then there are a lot of medications where you have to take other medications because of that medication too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like even think about like athletes, we're big sports fans, like they have to take a shot before they get a shot, like
Yeah.
that sort of thing. So it's like, okay, well, what comes with that? What's the precursor? What are the symptoms? What are the risks?
Yeah, I mean, currently as it stands, the only side effects is just you lose. You, I know a couple people who've been on Ozempic, and they said
Yeah, me too.
they actually miss, like, because like it not only turns off your cravings for more food and curbs your
Hmm.
appetite, it turns off your cravings for other things too, like
Mm.
alcohol,
Oh, damn.
yeah, I know, like people, like I know a woman who's on it, and she's like, literally after two drinks, I can't. And she was like, I miss going out and being able to have drinks, and I can't. Like like there are things that
Damn.
people there it dulls a lot of pleasure centers, and some of them
Gotcha.
you wanted, so it's
Right.
like, you know, some of the, like I know a person who's like, I miss being able to eat half a pizza because I like the taste of pizza, and now like I'll eat
Right.
one slice of pizza and I'm full, and it's great for my health. Don't get me wrong, but like, life is more than about just maintaining. It's that
Right.
life is more than about just optimizing. Sometimes you do just seek pleasure for
Correct.
the sake of seeking pleasure. So,
Yes.
um, I don't know. I'm all for it though because health, like we've been trying to solve weight management as a society for 40 years and nothing works, and this works. So let's go for it. True story. It was I think it was a lizard. It was This drug was founded by like studying lizard saliva.
Oh,
So
wow.
so when people like the current administration like scours the federal science budget and goes, why are we studying, you know, frog knuckles? And it's like, because these things, this is how these things start.
That's
Like
you'd be surprised.
scientific
Yeah.
research always looks like a waste of money until there's a breakthrough. Like it's
Correct.
like that's how it works. But yeah,
Yeah.
Ozempic started as there was like this lizard saliva, and they found it to like really work to treat diabetes. And for years,
Hmm.
it was just a compound that treated diabetes. And they put two and two together, and it sounded like our diabetic patients are also maintaining weight quite relatively easy. And then you take another
Yeah.
experiment. Let's see it on non-diabetic patients, how it worked. Does it have side effects? Da, 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 da. These things are expensive. These things take time. And, every once in a while we get a miracle drug. And so that's why
Yep.
we invest in science. Anyways, you got anything
That's
else for Act
dope.
One?
Um, yeah. So I think this is actually one of the more underrated performances in Will Smith's career
I
because
have that in my second notes. Is that
he literally has like no like he has like 8 lines in the whole movie
Yeah.
and he's still incredible.
Yeah, it's a testament to his charisma because absolutely nothing happens in Act Two.
Nothing.
It's just like there's like 40 minutes of this movie where nothing happens, and it's not a bad movie.
Right.
It's just like it's just him hanging out with a dog, and no
It's just
plot moves
chilling.
forward. He's like playing with the zombie. He's running, like it's actually not interesting to watch someone do a science experiment with no plot moving forward and no one else to
Right.
talk to. But Will Smith is one of the most
Can pull it
charismatic
off.
people we've ever seen in our lives, and
Who's
so
ever
he
lived
pulled it
in
off.
life.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, and even so I do want to say too that I thought that was cool. We talk about exposition a lot. The first scene where they show what he does, his nighttime routine, where he closes all the shutters and he sleeps in the bed with the bath with the dog. and you can hear the zombies like howling and shit throughout the night. He's awake because he probably has insomnia or some shit. I'm assuming from all the trauma and shit like that. Um, but if you notice, the dog is sound asleep, and it
Yeah.
just kind of goes to show how accustomed that the dog had gotten to the horror that was everywhere around them.
Yeah.
And anyone who has a dog knows like dogs are super light sleepers.
Yeah.
I walk in my house late night, I hear two steps and Charlie sounds like a rooster. So like so yeah, that I like how they showed that throughout the course of the movie.
Well, ignorance is bliss. He doesn't know the extent to
Yeah,
which what's, going on around
right,
him.
right.
Um, yeah, it is interesting that the dog the dog was the dog was a dog. On that note, Act Two, shifting hope and confrontation. Neville's solitary existence is shattered by the arrival of Anna and E. Wow, that jumped forward. Fellow
Yeah,
survivors who
they really
believe
did
in
go
a
fast as
distant
fuck.
safe haven. This encounter ignites a renewed sense of hope, but also intensifies the dangers of dark seekers led by a vengeful alpha male becomes increasingly aware of Neville's presence in his work. We're actually going to shift that and make Act Two basically him roaming and doing the science experiments. So, what do you have for Act Two? That'll be that whole segment will make Act Three, and then this will be Act Two. So,
Yeah, yeah, it
yeah,
works for me.
all right,
For Act Two, I thought okay, so I like that kind of the like we said earlier about the medicine stuff. The solution caused more problems, um, and you kind of just see that throughout the film. But one of my favorite scenes in the movie is where he kind of does his daily routine. He kind of goes to the movie theater store or the
yeah,
movie store or whatever, and he's like, "Hey, Fred, how you doing, man? I like that sweatshirt, man. I might have to borrow that from you one day." And he's like, "Oh no, I'm not gonna talk to." He sees the little mannequin girl,
yeah.
and he's like, "I'll talk to her tomorrow."
For the audience,
And
he sets up mannequins throughout the world so that he can have some sort
yes,
of interaction because he suffers from extreme loneliness. He's literally the only in his world, his mind, he's the only person on
he's the only
Earth.
person in the world. Yeah,
Um, like people, even loners don't understand how much they actually need human connection. Like there are very few
yes,
people who actually don't need it.
yeah,
Like you can like I'm a fairly introverted person, and I still have to go out and interact with human beings on the weekends. Otherwise, I'll just go crazy. I can't sit in this house all the time. And so, like, it looked silly at first. And actually, when I first saw it, this movie's 20 years old. I was much younger. I thought this is stupid. He's
yeah.
talking to mannequins. And now, as an adult, someone who's lived life experiences, I get it now. Like, that was what kept him sane, but relatively sane, is that just like
Yeah,
pretending he's talking to people because
correct.
we've been social animals since the beginning. And this idea that like he had everything he needed, but he needed that more than anything
Hmm.
else was the human interaction. So he had to pretend. I believe in
Correct.
his head he was talking to these people. It wasn't an act for him. Um,
I don't think so either.
yeah. So it drove. I mean, it literally drove him crazy to the point where he started talking to mannequins.
And it's funny because like you said, you don't really realize that type of stuff until like you experience something similar to that. Like, we obviously had the pandemic and we couldn't even sit in our house for 2, 3 weeks. People were like losing their shit. Like,
Yeah.
we had the shelter in place. People were still going out and doing shit and being places that weren't supposed to be and all that. Even like me, like I've my first time working remote was in 2020, and that was like a complete like you always say, like, oh, I wish I could work from home because you could sit on the
Yeah.
couch and watch TV and all that stuff, whatever. But then you realize I went 8 hours, I didn't say a word.
Yeah.
Like I went all day not speaking to anybody, you know what I mean? And you start to kind of like
The
lose it a
only
little bit. And
people
that's
who
just
think working from home is sitting on the couch and watching TV are people who don't work from home. Hey, no,
right.
like I actually have to like just
Correct.
because I'm at home doesn't mean people don't think need things from me at work. And if they don't get
Right.
done, people are going to be like, "Why didn't it get done?" I can't say, "Well, I fell asleep," because that's not how it works. But
Right.
no, I mean, during 2020, me and my day ones, we had like Friday night Zoom calls. We watched a
Hmm.
UFC fight on Zoom, um, and it just what else? There was like you couldn't leave the house, so
Yeah.
it just I God, that year was awful.
It was the worst year, man. Yeah,
Um,
we would do like group FaceTimes. We do like the virtual shot things, or we do the Instagram thing where it's like see a shot, take a shot, that sort of thing. Um, Eventually we would have kickbacks every now and then when we could. Yeah, that shit, oh, man, that shit was horrible. Oh God. Uh,
no, so like I've been remote since 2016. But
mhm.
like I had some. I can still. The office is right next door, so I can still go into the office. But like part of the reason I
Yeah,
go out frequently on weekends is because from Monday through Thursday,
I'm in the
the only
house.
time I leave the house is go to the gym, and by then I'm tired of these fucking four walls. Like I need, like
Yeah,
like I need some human interaction, and even when I'm working with my coworkers, I don't see them, and so
right.
and as an individual contributor, I don't actually have to do a lot of collaborating in general with my work. Now you
Anyway,
do, but it's not. I can go whole days without much collaboration, and so
yeah.
like I actually think because I return to the office later in this year for 3 days a week, and I actually think that will
Mhm.
make me go out less on weekends because I will scratch my social itch somewhat during the week, and you just miss the serendipity of going to the office and bump like on your way to the office, you stop at Starbucks and you bump into someone you haven't seen in a long time. Or
Mhm.
after office, you pop into this place for a happy hour and you run into so and so, and it's just like the randomness of actually having to leave your house for work every day is something that you don't realize you miss until it's gone. Because my
Yeah.
Monday through Thursday are so regimented, and it's fine because I'm a regimented
Mhm.
person, but that's not good for you.
Right.
And you need some randomness injected into your life because that's where creativity comes from. How many bands were created because some people ran into each other over and over and over again until they became friends. Like you have
Yep.
to get these reps in ways that don't feel like you're getting reps in. You know. So what else you got for Act Two?
That's correct. And um it's funny you said about the regiment thing. I actually was reading up on some of the prep work that Will Smith did for this role, and he actually talked a lot to a lot of inmates who were in like solitary confinement to kind of get into their heads about what it's like to be to kind of impose that on himself, to kind of figure out what the character would be going through mentally. And they all told him routine. They were like
Yeah.
anyone who's been alone is alone for long periods of time on end. You have to have a routine. Like you have to find some sort of regimen, or you will lose your shit. And that's kind of why, like throughout the movie, you see him doing the same thing every day.
Yeah.
They go to play golf on the pier. He goes on that thing at midnight where he sends out the signal, "Hey, I'll be here at noon." Till 5 p.m. because when the sun is highest in the sky, if you're out there and if there's any survivors, come, reach out to me, whatever. He's working out still, staying in shape, all that stuff, kind of keep some sense of, or give himself some sense of normalcy, so as to not lose whatever is left of his sanity.
So I asked this here because at this point he believes himself to be the only survivor. And
Right.
he spends most of his time trying to genetically engineer a cure. He's trapping the zombies
Hmm.
with bait, and then he's bringing them in and experimenting on them. So if let's say he finds a cure, now what? In his mind, he's the only one alive.
Right. So
What was what was he
I
gonna do
thought
with the
about that.
cure?
I actually had that question too, or a similar version of that question.
Was he trying to bring the
Um,
zombies back to life? Because I don't think that.
Well, that was my thing because it was like, so if you cure one, did you plan on just kidnapping them all and slowly curing them throughout the course of like 50 years?
Well,
Like I
so
wasn't sure what the game plan was with that.
So in The Last of Us, season one, there's a character. Her name, the main one. There's two main characters. One of the main
Mhm.
characters named Ellie, and she's important because she's immune to the virus. So she can be bitten by a zombie and she doesn't turn, and no one knows why
Gotcha.
and no one knows how. How. And so the goal is to get her to these scientists in Utah to study her brain and figure out if she can do what Robert Neville's doing in the movie, basically.
Yeah. Okay.
And uh, I've seen virologists in Reddit threads, the question was asked, okay, but like
Hmm.
all of humanity, like 90% of humanity is turned, what do you do? Well, one, this movie, they're not the only survivor. Like there's one person in I Am Legend, so it's a little different.
Right.
But they said like if you take a disease that goes from 100% mortality rate to 0% mortality rate because of an immune system, it changes everything about how you can like game plan. Like you don't
Right.
lose like if you get attacked by a horde of zombies, the people who aren't ripped to shreds just survive. And it's like one, they survive, so you can still utilize that human capital, and two, the zombies don't grow in strength. Like you basically stop the horde from growing. And so you can
Right.
mow them down. And there'll probably always be straggling hordes. Because if you've ever read the book
Hmm.
World War Z, even after they defeat the zombies, they'll like be like some stragglers in the mountains because you can never 100% anything.
Gotcha.
And
Right.
so but it's like once you like step one is making sure the cure is not 100% fatal, and then you can rebuild
Hmm.
society with the knowledge that like because like let's say you try to start to rebuild something, and your best construction worker in the colony gets bit. Fuck. Now we don't have a construction worker. Like,
Right.
like that human capital is lost, and now you don't have that problem, and you can just cure it, and so you can go forward with that. So, but I don't know what happens with him being the only survivor.
Yeah, I don't know what his plan was with that either.
It's a
Because
movie.
so my question was right. My question was, I mean, I had a factory, but I can just ask now. But it's like, why did it never occur to him that him taking these zombies would attract more zombies? Like, I don't know what.
I think it did, and that's why he had that routine of bleaching the steps and
Oh, yeah, that's
so on
fair.
and so forth.
Yeah,
And that's why he was very strict about the time he took them. But his mistake was that elaborate trap he set up to get that one. He didn't
yeah,
know they were smart enough, and that's what they did to him. Basically, they flipped the script and
yeah.
they
They
put
did.
that
They did.
mannequin
Yep.
out there and did what he did to them with his blood.
Correct.
And
Mm-hmm.
so that showed that they're evolving as a
And
colony.
they had been watching him.
Correct. And so that the lore goes is that the zombies basically develop their own colony because they become more intelligent as they evolve
Right.
and so on and so forth
Mm-hmm.
and become and develop more adaptive behaviors. Because who knows, something as simple as like create, inventing their own umbrella so that they can go out during the day would change
Mm.
their ability to grow their colony. So it just
Yep.
depends.
And it makes them
But
more of a
that's
threat.
he he was getting sloppy because that the blood thing was very sloppy. And
Yeah.
they copied him. So what else you got for Act Two?
Yeah. So you brought up an interesting point that I also wanted to touch on, where you kind of talked about the human need for connection. I think that's also one of the big underlying themes of this movie is that like human beings need each other. Um, and I actually was watching an interview a couple of days ago with Ryan Coogler, and he was talking about how he might have read a book or something. I can't remember what it was, but he was talking about how like animals are their infants are infinitely more developed than human babies. Like,
Correct.
you think about like when a deer is born or a lion's cub is born, they're walking within 30 minutes.
Right.
And a human baby, obviously we know what a baby does, and
They're literally they have
and
zero like they're worthless for lack of a better word.
yeah.
Physically to the human colony, they provide
They have
no productivity. They're
yes,
not
yes.
worthless. They just provide no productivity,
Yes,
and
and
they
they
cannot
have
take
no
care of
mobility.
themselves. Correct.
Yes, they have no mobility. And like I thought about that, and it's like, like they say, like a human baby, if it's not touched for a week, it can actually die.
Yeah.
Like it just like human beings like that, like I can't imagine like the touch deprivation that he felt with like throughout the movie. Like thank God he had the dog, you know what I
That's
mean?
a thing in
Um,
prison. I was listening to some podcast and a pastor, priest, whatever, whose
mhm,
specialty was speaking to people on death row. Because in death row, you get one of your rights as a citizen is like religious counsel. And
right.
he was like, one of the inmates was like, "Can I hug you? I haven't touched another human being in like 10 years." And he was just
Mm,
like, and like and he also another thing he said is that one of his inmates said that sometimes he would violate rules just so he could get a like what's called like a when his cell gets raided and like they just
yeah,
bum rush just so he can be touched, even if
has
just
some sort of physical
just
contact.
even though it was prison guards kicking the shit out of him, he just wanted a human touch that bad. So he would
Yeah,
purposefully have contraband in his thing or fake this or that and the third just so his cell could
yeah,
get raided, just so he could be touched by another human, even if it's a boot in the face. Um,
I believe it.
so
There's
the reason we are so helpless, not worthless, helpless as
mhm,
infants is because our brains are so big relative to our body. We have to
right,
be born early so that we can get through the birth canal because our heads would never
correct.
fit if we were born at
Yes,
the age that like an elephant is born as far as gestation. Like when an elephant is born, it's more or less self-sufficient. If we were born
right,
self-sufficient, we would never get through the birth canal. Like we're just
correct.
that's our
Because we have two
superpower.
legs, so our hips are more narrow. Yes.
And that's our superpower is that, our brains are big and functional. And so we're born really, really, even a full gestation human baby is premature by animal kingdom standards as far as like the ability to
Right.
fend and be productive. So I think that's what you said at the beginning. I just repeated it. So what else you got?
Oh, no, you're good. What did I have? Oh, so I wanted to ask you, would you want to live in a world where you thought there was no people? Like, would you even
No,
want to
no,
survive that
no.
that apocalypse, basically?
Nah, zombie me out, man. I want. Every time I see these every time people. I actually have a question later, but like people always assume they're going to survive the zombie apocalypse, and like they're going to be the 5% of people that survive, and it's like
Right.
no, somebody has to die. Um, But no, man, like none of these post-apocalyptic worlds look like great places to live.
True.
Like the sheer violence of it all,
Yeah. Paranoia, the fear, the anxiety.
uh, I'm good, man. And I say this as an introvert, as a bit of a loner. No, I don't want to live be the that looks horrible. Like Robert
Last
Neville's
man
life looks
standing.
miserable.
Yeah.
No. So you want to get in Act Three?
Yeah, let's get into it.
All right, Act Three, we're gonna lump in when he met the survivors, Anna and Ethan, two random people who ended up saving him from an attack from the Dark Seekers, what we're gonna call them. And
Yep.
then we're going to lump that part in with Act 3, Sacrifice and Legacy. Under siege by a massive Darkseeker attack, Neville makes a heroic last stand to protect Anna and Ethan and his potential cure. He ultimately sacrifices himself, ensuring their escape with the antibody, which holds the key to humanity's future, leaving behind a legacy of hope in the face of overwhelming odds. What you got?
Um, okay, so they say so I wanted to ask you, I'll start off, I guess, with a question. Well, an opinion, I guess, followed by a question. But so after they kill Sam, his dog, or he has to kill Sam because the dog gets infected with the virus, when he got caught, hung up from the trap. So he's like, "Fuck that! I'm getting my revenge." He tried to take out as many as many zombies as he could. I think he also
Crashed
was trying to
out.
kill himself, though. I
That
think
was
he also was trying to
suicide.
kill himself. To be honest, yeah, he was trying to kill
Suicide
himself.
by cop or suicide by zombie, whatever you want to
My
call it.
zombie,
Yeah.
yep, and or trigger I guess, and and then they save him. He wakes up at home, and he just like kind of freaks out because he's got they ate all his eggs, and he's like, I was saving the bacon, and it just made me like really hits home that this dude has not had a real two-way conversation in over 3 years,
Yeah.
and I can't imagine like the toll that takes on someone psychologically. It's almost like Will Smith played it so well. It's almost as if his character developed some form of like social anxiety disorder or like
Yeah.
maybe like autism or something like that. You know what I mean? Like the way he played it.
I mean, in real life, this person would be stark raving mad. He would not,
Yeah.
he would not be a
He was
functional
pretty
human
well
being.
adjusted, all things being equal.
All things
And
being
he saw
equal,
his wife and child
like
die.
he was a little high strung. I think all
Yeah.
things considered.
He was pretty laid back guy.
He was,
He was just a chill guy.
yeah, he was. Yeah, I agree. It definitely they undersold it in the movie, but yeah, 3 years without having a conversation with another adult or anyone, even nothing, just
Yeah.
watching old movies and you can't go
Hmm.
outside at night and you're stuck, you're in like, I mean, it's just a prison. I mean, he's in a prison
Yeah.
by himself with a dog,
It's
and that's
basically a
it.
halfway house.
Yeah,
It's
that's all he
literally a
does.
halfway house.
He has no hobbies, no, I mean, I think he was playing a little golf at the pier, but he
Yeah.
doesn't really like you asked in the previous segment what I want to live like in this, and no, not good, man. The
Yeah, I
zombies
think I
looked like they
wouldn't
were
get it
having
at
a better
all.
time than this.
They
They
they were
was in the
chilling in
dark
little
in the
huts and
crib
shit,
kicking it. Yeah,
having a
had a little
cipher.
fire. Yeah, oh, I saw some s'mores. They was
having
straight.
having a little right, having a little bonfire and shit.
Yeah,
Shout out to all the undead homies.
yeah.
uh,
He alpha
and
male dude had a little boo. He
yeah, he
he
had his
rounded
little
up the
boo.
troops to get his girl out. Oh,
Yeah, they said we storm at dawn.
yeah. They said we caught him
um,
slipping. He caught him lacking. We found out where
they
he
caught
lived.
him. They caught him lacking.
Sled on the ops, caught him act lacking.
um, so one of my favorite scenes in the movie is when after he yells at them and he kind of gets some sleep and comes back downstairs and they're watching Shrek
Yeah,
and he starts doing every single line from the movie.
yeah. He's probably seen that movie a million fucking times.
Like literally a million times.
He probably could literally sit down and write the script verbatim off the top of his head.
Right.
Just what else is there to
um,
do? Did you ever watch
yeah,
Breaking
right.
Bad?
I think I watched the first couple seasons.
All right, then you wouldn't get
I
the
couldn't quite
reference.
stick with it, but
Yeah, then never mind, you wouldn't get it. But yeah, it's like the survival isn't great. Because into the show, he's like one of the most wanted man on earth, and
right.
so like he figures out a way to like escape to flee
Hmm.
basically, and he flees and he gets set up in this like New Hampshire cabin in the middle of fucking nowhere.
Yeah.
Off the beaten path, off the grid, no electricity, no indoor plumbing, one small TV, two DVDs,
Yeah.
I'm like, I just rather go to prison. Fuck that. And this is what I just
So
I'm
he
in the
he ended
middle.
his shit like Henry Hill.
Yeah, he had to literally abandon his family and move to a cabin in the woods in
Yeah.
Vermont with no electricity, no running water, and he had
Yeah, that
like two
sucks.
DVDs to watch
That sucks.
and newspapers
I
to
couldn't get a
read.
box set. That sucks.
I just prison is better than that. I'm not even kidding. It's not
Yeah.
even close.
Yeah, you
Just
get three
send me.
meals a
I'd rather
day.
go to
Shit, I don't know.
prison. Fuck that.
It's fun. It's funny. So the scene with him and Shrek, I have like two takeaways from that movie or from that scene, I guess, or one takeaway, then one question, I guess. So one, Shrek's one of my. I do love that movie. I also think like no bullshit, it's one of the greatest movies ever. Like in terms of just the combination of plot development, character development, storyline, twists, genre flipping, all that stuff. I think that's a fantastic movie. Like I know everybody's like people shit on kids movies, but it's like I think that's a just a dope ass movie. Period.
I literally have not
But I
seen one
also
scene of a Shrek movie.
you've never seen Shrek?
Not one scene of
That's
one.
insane. It's a really good movie. I'm
I take
I'm
your
not
word for it.
overselling it. So I wanted to ask you, are there any movies or is there a movie that you can like pick up in the middle of a scene any point in time and just like start like doing the lines like that?
Crooklyn, Menace to Society, uh, a lot like Love, Goodfellas, all of those I can recite off the top of my head. Yeah, I'm not gonna sit here and name movies forever, but yeah, that's four off the top of my head for sure. Um, yeah, those four. How about you?
Okay. Let's see, I go Crooklyn, definitely Goodfellas. I could do the whole Dark Knight trilogy. Probably the first two. No, yeah, first three Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire. Um, Let me think. The Hangover. Um, I could probably do A Star Is Born, cover to cover. Um, so I get off the top of my head. A lot of them. It's like 30 movies. I
Yeah.
watch a lot of movies, so. um, but yeah, and then so what happened for Act Three? So did you have any other questions for Act Three?
Yeah, it's a closer though. So
Okay.
get your shit off.
Okay, let's see here. What else do I have? Um, oh yeah, so once they realize that the zombies found his house and they start raiding the shit at
Yeah.
like sunset, whatever. I just really assumed he would have had a better contingency plan than just like one grenade and some floodlights.
Especially for a military man. Yeah, you're right. It doesn't make any
Yeah, it
sense.
just
I don't think he wanted to live, man.
I don't
I
think
don't
so either.
I think the human body is very resilient and
Yeah,
suicide is a lot harder than it looks. And so finding the cure gave
correct.
him a task, but I don't think he had
Hmm.
much will to. I think if the zombies came to his crib and he didn't have those people to protect there, he'd have just been like, fuck it,
Hmm.
y'all got it. Especially after his dog died. I just don't, which
Yeah,
doesn't
the
really
dog
apply
was
to
the
your
last
question
straw.
because the building of the defenses would have been while the dog was alive. But
Right.
yeah, I didn't sense a deep desire to survive from Robert Neville. I
Me
kind of
neither.
felt like he wanted to find a cure just because he's a scientist and that's what scientists do. They solve puzzles. But I don't think he
Correct.
particularly cared if he was around to see it through the end. So
Yeah, I felt like he was like treading water.
yeah. I
Like
mean,
he
just
was
the
just
little
saying,
things
I'll
he
just kind
did,
of do
like,
enough to like,
he's bringing his dog out,
yeah,
knowing how dogs are,
with no leash.
I understand why he kept his crib in the city because he needs to run his experiment, so he needs to have access to the zombies. Because otherwise, why wouldn't you just drive to, the worst place you can be in a zombie outbreak is the densely populated areas. You want to get to the rural
Right.
areas. That's my other theory is that, every zombie movie is actually like when conservatives say Hollywood don't make movies that reflect conservative values. And I'm like, zombie movies reflect conservative values. One, it's a ringing endorsement of the Second Amendment. Because if these people didn't arm themselves, they would be totally
They'll
fucked.
be dead. Yep.
um distrust of government, self-reliance.
True.
I could go on and on and on. Most
Yeah.
zombie
First of all,
movies,
every cop movie is a conservative movie.
not really.
Well, a lot of them.
I mean, sort of, and military, but like they complain that they don't get like pop culture sitcoms, like like they used to, basically, like,
Uh,
which I get. I mean, Hollywood is quite liberal, but the rebuttal is always zombie movies are owed to conservative values all the time.
Yep.
So because again, the people are always like sometimes people say it's unrealistic that they would still have guns 20, 30 years later. It's like, no, it's not. You
Yeah.
know how many guns are in circulation right now? You could stop making them tomorrow, and there would still be
And
more guns than people. And
right,
so this is the argument on behalf of the Second Amendment, right? Because if society shuts down, you can't, there's no police to call.
right.
And so, it's so that's yeah. So I don't even know where we started. I don't know how do we get there.
Oh shit, I don't even remember.
Anyways, what else
Um,
you got, man?
so I like the callback to his daughter where the zombies they're in the basement, they're all basically about to break through the glass and it's pretty much over. And he's got the grenade, but he puts what's her name? Damn.
Who cares?
Anna, I
Just
think, and Ethan, whatever. The
girl
wife and
one, boy
kid.
B.
Yeah, the lady and her kid
Nameless,
in the
faceless
little
girl and boy. Like it just none of these. They didn't have lines. It was just they were just. It's just Will
right.
Smith and a dog. That's all they're in this movie.
Her only line was like, "Ethan, calm down."
Yeah, that was it.
Uh,
They could have.
and
They
she
literally could have walked into a coffee shop like, "Hey, you got a minute? We need you to shoot these
we
scenes
need
right
some
quick."
we need some cheap labor with Will Smith.
That's it. You want to meet Will Smith? Okay, cool. That's what you got to
Right.
do. Say this
Single ladies
line.
in New York.
That's what you got to do.
Anybody in New York with a kid.
This was a. I imagine the CGI was expensive, but it was not a. I imagine
Yeah.
this was not a very expensive movie to make. It was like two sets and one actor.
Well, I think most of the budget went to shutting down like New York City or parts of
Yeah.
New York City.
Was it shot on set? Oh
Yeah,
yeah, I suppose. That's
yeah, it
very
was all shot on
expensive.
location. Yeah. Um,
Which is
what was I gonna say?
objectively a
Oh yeah,
silly
so
thing that we allow. Like, why would you don't get to shut down Manhattan to make a
shut
movie?
down New.
Which is like, why are we allowing
Yeah,
that?
like
That's really silly.
it is pretty
I'm
crazy.
glad they
Have you
did.
seen Vanilla? It did
Uh,
look great. That
yeah.
shit looked hard as fuck.
But like
Yeah,
it
like
just
have you seen
objectively from a city government viewpoint, it's a silly thing
yeah,
to
that shit
allow.
is pretty crazy. Especially in New York of all places.
Yeah.
Um yeah, like have you seen Vanilla Sky with Tom Cruise?
I have not, no.
There's a scene where he's like it's like kind of set in the future, I think, whatever. Or and there's part of it's like dream sequences. And he's like running down Times Square and they literally shut down Times Square in broad day, like in the morning, like 6 in the morning, something like that. So he could just shoot this one scene of him like running around Times Square, fucking insane.
All because
Um,
heaven forbid Tom Cruise or Will Smith or whatever have to like interact with regular people while they film their movie. Like, anyways. You got anything else, man?
um, oh yeah, the callback to his daughter with the where she had the lady had the butterfly tattoo,
Yeah.
and I think that kind of was his signal to like, all right, my journey's over here. Which I guess is why he went ahead and called it a day and finally ended it while also
Finally,
saving humanity.
saving humanity, got the cure. We'll see if it works. He was the only subject matter expert, so who knows how that's
Yeah,
going to go. Um, Again, people underestimate the value of human capital, but I will close it with this. Did you have anything else before I go?
uh, yeah, that's it. That's all I
All right.
got.
So, zombie apocalypse has happened. Society has collapsed. You have miraculously survived.
Yeah.
You and 50 people have fortified a base. You're rebuilding a colony, setting up a new government, building out the world again. What is
Yeah.
your role in rebuilding society post-zombie apocalypse in the colony? What is
Um,
you are your human capital? What are you
that's
bringing
a
to
good
this?
question. It's a good question. Uh, Reproduction and an ingenuity spirit.
Fair enough.
Nah, I'd probably say I don't know, I'd do something with as far as like maybe like community outreach or uh maybe like teaching people like maybe like some sort of creative programs for like, wellness, mental health, that sort of thing, something like that.
People need entertainment. So, yeah, I mean, that's people underestimate that value. It's like people need a break, especially in a world as cold and miserable as I Am
Yeah.
Legend. So, what do you rate it?
What about you?
Uh, I I don't think how I thought about that, and pretty much just like manual labor because none of
Yeah.
my skills translate to a post
Apocalyptic
apocalyptic
world.
world. So I mean, I figured. I mean, I'm sure maybe I'd have some like leadership role in like setting out, building out the new government. But in the
Yeah,
beginning, just manual labor, man. I can pick up heavy things and put them down. That's what we got going on.
I
So,
feel you.
what do you rate
I
it?
can do landscaping.
Yeah.
I cut a nice grass. I give it I give it 3 stars.
Yeah.
3 stars. Fun movie, good watch. That third act, it kind of tails off, obviously. Um, which actually was a pretty popular criticism of the movie. But Will Smith in his prime with a cute dog, not much to hate there.
Two. It's just not a good movie. It was if it were it is a testament to Will Smith's charisma that it's even watchable. But all right, thanks for listening. My name is Darius. That's D's all up in your area on all socials.
And I'm Jordan. Jordan be writing on all socials.
Please rate, like, subscribe. We are at Moviegoers Pod on all socials. That is Moviegoers PD on Twitter. That is PD on Twitter.
And for any ongoing movie recommendations, reach out to us at moviegoerspod@gmail.com. That's moviegoerspod@gmail.com. That's a wrap. Thanks for coming to the movies with us. We'll be back next week reviewing Hitch.